So the DNC has shunned the idea of a climate change-focused debate. They said it is not going to happen. So Jay Inslee, he's one of the presidential candidates. And if you don't remember, he is the governor of Washington, who was focused mainly on a climate change campaign. That's what he's focusing on. He has asked for the debate. And the DNC not only said no, but they said they will blacklist any candidate who goes around them and holds a climate change focused debate that is not sponsored by the DNC. Yeah. So they're like, oh, okay, if you go and try to hold one of these debates on your own that is not sponsored by us, we are blacklisting you from any future debates. That is democracy for you. The DNC's point, now why did they say no to holding a climate change focused debate? They said that they don't want to focus on one topic, which is what Jay wanted to do. He wanted a really robust, comprehensive conversation about climate change. They say that they don't want to do that. They want to instead focus on dozens of topics during the debate, which sounds all nice, but there's a big problem with that. And that is that they're basically just going to blow through each topic in 5 minutes roughly, which is how much time was spent on climate change in 2016. It was like a little over 5 minutes. And that's just not enough time to get past the scripted one-liners that the candidates are going to come up with. You know, they've all got it in their minds what they're going to say about each thing. They're going to get on the debate stage and they're just going to rattle it off and they're not going to commit to anything. This won't give us real insight into what they propose to actually do specifically and allow a really good, robust back and forth exchange. It's not going to allow that. You know, what this is going to do is allow for candidates like Joe Biden and Kirsten Gillibrand and Pete Buttigieg and Beto O'Rourke to, you know, candidates that don't really have solid, specific policy ideas. This is going to give them the opportunity to just kind of blow through it. It gives them a leg up. They can say a flowery little sentence that doesn't commit them to anything. And it's essentially a free pass for those guys. But, you know, I would like to see debates that are really focused on topics. I would like to see specific debates that are held on climate change, which is huge. That is a huge, huge issue. Foreign policy, healthcare, immigration, taxation. I would like to see specific debates on these specific topics. Rather than, okay, let's blow through it and everybody could just kind of say their crisp scripted one-liner. Excuse me, I'm like spitting around here. So, you know, I think what we're going to see in these debates that are coming up is just going to be a lot of these, we need to look into that. We need to take a serious look into that. You know, that's Kamala Harris's line, or that's something we need to take seriously. And that's really something that matters a lot to me. You know, a lot of them are going to say that. And what that's going to do is it's going to allow these corporate bought out establishment Democrats to be non-committal. And it appeases their donors. It appeases the establishment, also while kind of placating the masses who don't know any better. You know, when the masses hear Pete Buttigieg say something like, well, that's something we need to really take seriously. And, you know, that really matters a lot to me. That's my number one issue. But then doesn't give any specific ideas. That allows for him to have the leeway to keep his donors happy, to keep the establishment happy, while the masses hear, well, he says he cares, so I'm sure he'll do something. But instead, when you've got these other candidates like Bernie Sanders, Elizabeth Warren, Andrew Yang, Tulsi Gabbard, who have actual specific ideas on how to combat these issues, on how to tackle these issues, those are the candidates that are really going to shine if the DNC were to allow a more robust conversation, a longer conversation about specific policies. But you could see why they wouldn't want to do that. Because the candidates that are actually progressive, the candidates that are actually for the people, are not the candidates that they would like to see advance. They want the other guys to advance, like Pete Buttigieg and Biden and Beto O'Rourke. They want those guys. They don't want the Bernie Sanders. They don't want the Tulsi Gabbard. They don't want the Andrew Yang. They don't want the people that actually have ideas that are for the people. So let's talk about the debates. So the debates are coming up. We are in June, and the first round is at the end of this month. The first one is scheduled they're breaking it up into two. So they've got 10 candidates each night. They've got one coming up on June 26th and then another one the 27th where they break it up. And I guess they're going to, flip a coin on who gets to be when. That debate is scheduled for Miami. It is going to be aired on NBC, MSNBC, and Telemundo. And then the next round of the first debates, which they're considering the first debates still, would be July 30th and 31st in Detroit. And those are going to be viewable on CNN. And in order to make those debates, the candidates needed to get 1% support in 3 national or state early state polls, or they needed to get 65,000 individual donors, including 200 of those from 20 different states. So they needed to get at least 200 people from 20 different states to make up their 65 as part of their 65,000 donors. They couldn't get the 65,000 just from one state, for example, or a couple of states. It got to get at least 200 from 20 different states. So several candidates have made those qualifications. There's 13 candidates who have made it for sure. And those candidates are Joe Biden, Bernie Sanders, Pete Buttigieg, Elizabeth Warren, Kamala Harris, Beto O'Rourke, Cory Booker, Amy Klobuchar, Julian Castro, Tulsi Gabbard, Jay Inslee, Marianne Williamson, and Andrew Yang. And I did not say those in the order in which I like the candidates. I said that in the order that they were listed. An additional 7 candidates have hit the polling threshold: Michael Bennet, Bill de Blasio, John Delaney, Kirsten Gillibrand, John Hickenlooper, Tim Ryan, and Eric Swalwell. So now there's a few candidates who have not made it, and that would be Steve Bullock, Seth Moulton, Wayne Messam, and Mike Gravel. Here's the thing. Steve Bullock, though, is very close. So he thought he had made it. He thought that he had polled at least over 1% in 3 of the polls, but the DNC just told him that one of those polls didn't count. So if Steve Bullock does pull it off and he makes it before the debates, then I think it actually will come down to him or Marianne Williamson. And I think that the way they're making the decision, I think it would end up being Steve Bullock, to be honest with you, because I think that the DNC is, like in DNC fashion, is they're prioritizing the polls over the grassroots individual donors, which is absolutely the wrong thing to do. Grassroots individual support is way more important than made up fake polls. So if they end up sticking Steve Bullock in there and canning Marianne Williamson, that is going to piss off a lot of people. She has the donors. She does not have the polling because she doesn't have the name recognition. Steve Bullock, on the other hand, the governor of Montana, has the name recognition, but he doesn't have the numbers. He doesn't have the grassroots support. So, I think it should come down to the people and not the polls. And I think many of us feel that way, but that's not how the DNC plays. So we'll see how that goes. Now, if candidates don't make it into this particular round of debates, there is always a shot at it doesn't mean your campaign's over. You could continue on and potentially aim for qualifying for the second round of debates, which are going to be in September. But the DNC has upped the ante on what a candidate would need to get in order to qualify for those second round of debates. And they're saying that they need to have 2% support in 4 of the polls, plus, or they need to get 130,000 unique donors to their campaign, including 400 unique donors from at least 20 states. So they essentially doubled everything. The good news on that is, to say 130,000 unique donors, they're really obviously going to be relying a lot on those, on the grassroots for that. So that is kind of showing that the DNC is paying attention to grassroots efforts. But again, if they're going to prioritize people who do well in the polls over the people who do well in grassroots, then it doesn't look like we've come very far with them. I mean, in that way. So that is what's going on with the debates at this point. I still have not heard what the DNC is planning on throwing at the candidates for the debates. Don't know what the topics are going to be. What we know is that they're not going to do one specific topic like Jay Inslee wanted to do. I would at least like them to focus the debates on a couple of topics rather than dozens of topics. I would like to see more robust conversations and policies really being put forward and some real back and forth during those debates. But my guess is that they would get to that as the field whittles down. But by then it might be too late. I for a lot of these candidates who have a lot of really great, strong ideas. So that is your debate update.